very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. The SMS line is 21144. The social media handles is GBS TV Africa Now. The former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has warned President William Ruto to dare not act on his plans aimed to impeach the Chief Justice Martha Koome from office. The Ulster DP, who was in Meru County at the church in Igembe North constituency, has promised to lead a demonstration if Martha Koome will be ousted from the office. Davis Karani reports.
Making his first move to the mountain since his impeachment while poking holes to the Kenya Kwanza administration, the former DP Rigathi Gachagua continuously slated his strong and heavy words to attack the man he once served as his deputy in the Kenya Kwanza administration.
Alitudanganya, hakutudanganya. Tukamchagua. Kufika pale ametumia hiyo kiti kumaliza watu ya Mount Kenya. Ameanza na Rigathi Gachagua, amemfukuza. Akarudi akafukuza Metheka.
The former DP also could not stomach the current state of courts as plans to oust the Chief Justice and the President of the Judiciary Martha Koome from the office continue making headlines.
This is the first time the CJ anaenda kotini akiwa anakalia hiyo kiti na anashtaki Judicial Service Commission ambayo ni yeye chairperson wa hiyo commission.
Gachagua has also promised to lead the Mount Kenya region in a demonstration if Martha Koome will be removed from the office and has warned the president against visiting the mountain, stating that the ground will be slippery on him and has promised to unleash his party on May this year.
Sasa amepanga jama ya kumfukuza Martha Koome. Na amepanga pale kotini anahonga watu kufukuza Martha Koome. Ukifukuza Martha Koome usikanyange hapa Meru. Mimi nataka nikuambie, ulifukuza Rigathi Gachagua, watu ya mlima wakanyamaza. Ukafikiria ni waoga. Tunakuambia rais, wewe panga jama, ufukuze Martha Koome. Na wewe ukae Nairobi usikanyange hapa Meru tena ukifukuza Martha Koome.
When the son of the mountain was in the government, things were the same as they are today, but instead he stood firm in the defense of the same government, and now he is out. He has poked holes on Ruto's administration the same way that President William Ruto did to the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
Pia wale waliiba pesa ya KEMSA watafutwe na wafungwe. Ama namna gani? Ninauliza nyinyi, kwani ni watu wa bodaboda waliiba pesa ya KEMSA? Ni watu wa bodaboda waliiba pesa ya KEMSA? Watu hawaje kutuhadaa bwana.
Is it the same script that is repeating itself in a different novel? This is a matter of time. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
Energy CS Opiyo Wandayi has called on Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to stay out of ongoing discussions regarding the formation of a broad-based government, urging him to make a clear decision about his political alignment. This comes as Wandayi, along with Game Member of Parliament Elisha Odhiambo and Nyando MP Jared Okello, spoke at the launch of Rural Electrification Project in Game constituency, where political tensions surrounding alliances and the future direction of the country continue to rise.
Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi has urged Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to refrain from interfering with the ongoing discussions surrounding the formation of a broad-based government.
I want to tell Kalonzo Musyoka to please leave us alone. Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, please leave us alone. We are still hurting.
Speaking in Sirandu village in Game constituency after launching a 12.5 million rural electrification project, which was funded by government through the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation, Wandayi emphasized that Raila Odinga and his supporters have already made a conscious decision to align with President William Ruto, and no amount of persuasion will change their stance. Wandayi expressed frustrations with the recurring pattern of political leaders who praise Raila Odinga before elections but fail to support him after the polls, asserting that this behavior must stop.
This idea that every now and then, before elections, people run to Raila Odinga. That he is a good man, he must save Kenya, he must fight for Kenya, and when the time comes for elections, they sabotage him. They sabotage him. So we have made a conscious decision to work with President William Ruto. So Kalonzo Musyoka and your ilk, please leave us alone.
The CS, accompanied by Game MP Elisha Odhiambo and Nyando MP Jared Okello, also called on Kalonzo Musyoka and his allies to decide whether they will join the broad-based coalition or align with what he referred to as Wamunyoro coalition, highlighting that there were only two political paths ahead.
There are only two formations, two political formations going forward. Either you are with the broad-based coalition that I belong to, or you are with the Wamunyoro coalition. There are no two ways. There's no third way. Two. So don't confuse us. So stop confusing us. Just declare where you stand, and then we decide how to handle you.
He criticized political figures who have been opportunistic in their dealings with Raila, referring to them as vultures who have benefited at the expense of the former premier's political struggle.
There are vultures. There are political vultures who have fed on Raila's political blood for far too long. These are the vultures who would always want to see Baba languishing on the streets. All the time, as they benefit politically. Those vultures, we must call you out, because your time is up.
Game MP Elisha Odhiambo, during the same event, commended the government for its investment in the electrification project and praised President Ruto for his support of Raila Odinga during the recent African Union Commission chairmanship race. However, Odhiambo expressed concerns about a perceived collusion between Francophone and Muslim countries that may have influenced the election outcome. He called for greater unity among English-speaking African countries to ensure fair representations in such elections.
Allow me to congratulate President William Samoei Ruto for going out of his way to support the Right Honorable Raila Odinga for the AUC. President William Ruto, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the NIS Director, Nordin, Haji, they did their best to ensure that Baba wins the seat. The only question that arises out of that election that we must ask ourselves, that we need to call upon the English-speaking countries in Africa to unite. Because it would appear to me that the French-speaking and the Muslim states had a sway in this election.
Trizatiengo, GBS News.
President William Ruto, his deputy Kithure Kindiki, and ODM leader Raila Odinga today in Mombasa hinted at working together for a better country. Now, I'll take that again. Deputy President and the President William Ruto, his deputy Kithure Kindiki, and ODM leader Raila Odinga today in Mombasa hinted at working together through the broad-based government. The statements come a few days after Raila lost his African Union chair contest. The president welcomed Raila back, thanking him for putting up a spirited fight to the end. Victor Odun reports.
The broad-based government is here to stay is not in doubt. This was evident today in Mombasa, where President William Ruto, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga addressed the nation. Then their statements cemented it all. Even the camaraderie among them was evident as they welcomed each other on stage.
Are you my brother? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
President William Ruto hailed Raila Odinga for putting up a spirited fight in his AU chair seat bid, saying his candidature united Kenya.
We close ranks as a country and focus on what we can do for Kenya.
The head of state welcomed Raila back home, promising to cooperate with him to move Kenya forward And for the first time after his AU chair bid loss, Raila Odinga today publicly spoke to the nation. He thanked the president for according him all the support, likewise reiterating that it was him who decided to vie, but not the president advising him to do so.
So I am very grateful to be back home. I want to thank again my brother, younger brother, President William Ruto, who stood by me. He never asked me to run. I announced myself that I was going to run for this position of chair of African Union Commission. And he only came after I made the announcement to say that he was supporting my candidature.
The president confirmed this.
As you are all aware, when Prime Minister Raila Odinga announced that he wanted to run for the position of Africa Union Commission chair, as president and leader of this country, Raila Odinga being a leader in our country and a candidate, I took the position that this was not about Raila Odinga the person, it was equally about Kenya the country. We processed his candidature through cabinet, and cabinet took the decision that we were going to deploy support from the government of Kenya.
Raila say he is so glad to be back home, thanking all who supported him. The opposition leader added that he is ready to serve both Africa and Kenya in various capacities. The ODM leader finally said he is going to meet his allies and supporters to chart the way forward.
I'm back home here. I'm going to meet with my friends, my supporters, and I'm going to consult widely what's going on forward. And in due course, we're going to announce our way forward.
Raila have refuted claims that the government wasted billions of taxpayers' money on his AU bid candidature.
I've seen billions being said, quoted. Somebody's talking about 13 billion shillings spent on the Raila campaign. I don't know in which world those guys live on, whether they know what a billion means. A billion shillings to do what? The money that was spent was the money that was necessary just to hire transport to travel around.
Victor GBS News at 9.
Wafula Chebukati died after suffering a cardiac arrest while undergoing treatment for a recurring brain tumor. This was announced by Eric Nyongesa, the family's spokesperson, during a press briefing earlier today at Life in Abundance Center. Eric Nyongesa explained that Chebukati was diagnosed with brain cancer in April 2023 and underwent 2 surgeries in Germany. Despite these efforts, the tumor recurred, leading to further hospitalization. Susan Nganga, bring us more.
The late former Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati died after battling brain cancer that eventually led to cardiac arrest. His family has announced that he will be laid to rest on March 8 at his Sabata farm in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County.
The burial has been confirmed for the 8th of March at his farm in Sabata, within Kitale, within Trans Nzoia County.
Family spokesperson Eric Nyongesa revealed that Chebukati was first diagnosed with brain cancer in April 2023, just months after his retirement. He underwent surgery in Germany and returned home to continue his recovery while participating in international electoral forums. However, the battle was far from over. In April 2024, the tumor recurred, requiring a second surgery. After another period of recovery, Chebukati resumed his normal duties, but the illness struck again in December 2024. He was hospitalized until January 2025 before returning home to explore further medical options. On February 12, he was readmitted to the hospital with chest complications and was moved to the intensive care unit. Despite doctors' effort, he suffered cardiac arrest on February 20th and unfortunately passed away. Nyongesa dismissed rumors surrounding Chebukati's health, clarifying that at no point was the family informed he was clinically dead before his passing. A post-mortem examination is set to be conducted ahead of his burial. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
A tragic event has occurred in Haiti as the Kenya-led peace enforcement mission has lost its first officer since arriving. A Kenyan police officer has died from injuries caused during an anti-gang operation in Port-au-Prince. Now, this is a sad moment for the multinational peacekeeping force, which was sent to help restore order and fight gang violence in Haiti.
The officer, a member of the Kenyan contingent, was injured on Sunday, February 23, 2025, during an operation in the north of the capital. The Kenyan officer was immediately airlifted to the Aspen Level 2 hospital, but tragically succumbed to his injuries, as confirmed by the MSS Force Commander Godfrey Otunge. In a statement issued early this morning, Godfrey expressed sorrow over the loss. The loss underscores the dangers faced by peacekeepers deployed in Haiti, a country dealing with violent gang control in several regions. The mission, led by Kenyan police officers and supported by a smaller contingent of soldiers from Caribbean nations, aims to restore stability and security in the country. However, these peacekeepers are often operating under difficult and dangerous conditions, with reports of ill-equipped forces confronting well-armed gangs. The death of this officer brings into stark focus the challenges faced by international peace enforcement missions, with calls for better support and resources for those on the front lines. The Kenyan-led team is now working to support local authorities and curb the rising violence, but the loss of one of their own highlights the immense risk involved. The mission remains ongoing, with hopes that further international cooperation will bring an end to the ongoing crisis in Haiti. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
It's time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media handles at GBS TV Africa, and our SMS line is 21144. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
So through the four gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth. And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins. He carried our sins. And he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins. And he was put into the tomb and resurrected in 3 days. This is the gospel that we speak. About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified. He was crucified to pay for our sins. And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean. However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Hello, kids. Did you know a year has 31,557,600 seconds? Why do you think so? Exactly. There are 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and 365 in a year. We count the extra 0.25 because of leap year. When you multiply all these numbers together, you get a huge number of seconds. That's why a year feels long, but time still flies when you are having fun.
AS and A levels is a qualification program that is advanced. That is after one has completed the high GCSE program, then they advise to continue for AS and A level. AS typically is a 1-year program, and A levels is done in the 2nd year after completing the AS level. And this one equips the student with the knowledge that is recommended for the university and also by employers outside the countries or within the country.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. Kenya has received 17 rare mountain bongos from Florida, USA, marking a major milestone in wildlife conservation. The endangered antelopes, originally native to Kenya, were taken abroad in the 1960s and have now been repatriated as part of efforts to restore their dwindling population. The animals arrived on Sunday night and were transported to Meru, where they will be quarantined before being reintegrated into their natural habitat. Tourism CS Rebecca Miano emphasized that the long-term goal is to increase the mountain bongo population to over 700 by 2050. With fewer than 100 remaining in Kenya, experts believe the new arrivals will boost breeding efforts and prevent extinction. Kenya Wildlife Service Director General Dr. Erastus Kanga confirmed that another batch of mountain bongos is expected from Europe in the next 3 months as the country ramps up its conservation strategy. This repatriation follows years of international renegotiations and builds on a similar initiative in 2004. Conservationists see it as a crucial step in enhancing biodiversity and strengthening Kenya's position as a leading wildlife tourism destination. Officials also highlight the economic benefits, anticipating increased tourism revenue and job creation as the bongo population grows.
Currently, this is a cohort of 17 bongos that are going to Mushene Forest, which is a CFA or rather a community conservancy, is extremely exciting to us. Because number one, we are bringing back the biodiversity or the species that are critically endangered that had been taken out. Then number two, we are looking at creating jobs to the local community members that are going to be employed in that conservancy. And number three, we are going to be growing livelihood of the people that are going to be employed in the tourism sector. So we are looking at having the mountain bongo population growing back into this country. In about 2050, we are expecting that we shall be having at least minimum of 750 individuals of the mountain bongo back in this country, and that is a key iconic attraction for tourists.
This moment, by all means, marks a significant milestone in our collective efforts to conserve and even restore one of the world's most endangered species. Ladies and gentlemen, the return of these mountain bongos from the Rare Species Conservancy Foundation in Florida, USA, is a breakthrough. It testifies to the potency of cross-border collaboration in matters universal to humankind and matters universal to biodiversity.
Human rights activists have stayed true to their word as they gathered at Aga Khan Walk this morning to demand the release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. The protests were organized by several human rights groups including Amnesty International and the Law Society of Kenya in solidarity with Besigye and other political prisoners in Uganda.
Free, free Besigye! Free, free Besigye!
Human rights activists have stayed true to their word as they gathered at Aga Khan Walk this morning to demand the release of Dr. Kizza Besigye. The protests were organized by several human rights groups, including Amnesty International and the Law Society of Kenya, in solidarity with Besigye and other political prisoners in Uganda.
The abduction and rendition of Kizza Besigye and Haji Obeid Lutale blatantly violated international human rights law and the principle of extradition treaties. That on 20th February 2025, Uganda police opened charges, and these are new charges, against Kizza Besigye, Haji Obeid Lutale, and Dennis Oula with offenses of treason contrary to Section 23(1)(c) of the Penal Code Act, Uganda, and misprision of treason contrary to Section 25 of the Penal Code Act of Uganda.
The demonstrations began at Aga Khan Walk in Nairobi CBD and proceeded to the Parliament buildings and the Ugandan High Commission. Demonstrators chanted "Free Besigye,"
Free, free Besigye! Free, free Besigye!
and "People Power."
Kenya power! Power! Kenya power! Power!
Emphasizing their demand for his immediate release.
We are taking this as a first step to ask the Uganda government to actually release Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Besigye has been in detention since November 2024, following his alleged abduction from Nairobi and subsequent trial in a military court and then a civilian court after a Ugandan Supreme Court ruling declared that trying civilian in military courts is unconstitutional.
That the transfer of Kizza Besigye and Haji Obeid Lutale to civilian courts is a continuation of a process begun through abduction and rendition, which are unlawful under international law. And as such, any trial that follows these illegal transfer amounts to a continuation of an unlawful process.
The protest comes after Besigye and his co-accused were charged with treason and sent back in detention, despite Besigye deteriorating health after a week-long hunger strike. Susan Nganga, GBS News.
3 children died on spot and 1 was seriously injured after a motorcycle they were riding collided head-on with a lorry along the Kutus-Kimunye Road in Gishugu-Kirinyaga County. The victims, all students from Kimunye Primary School, were reportedly riding the motorcycle unsupervised. Authorities have urged parents to keep children from operating motorcycles as residents call for road safety measures.
3 people died on the spot while 1 was seriously injured after a motorcycle they were riding collided head-on with a lorry at Gatugula along Kutus Kimunye Road in Gichugu, Kirinyaga County. According to Kirinyaga East Sub-County Police Commander Johnson Wachira, the lorry was heading to Kutus from Kimunye when it collided with a motorcycle with 4 underage occupants. Residents say the 4 children hail from Kairegi village in Kimunye and study at Kimunye Primary School.
Kulikuwa na vijana watatu, walikuwa na ni vijana wa shule, wanasomea hapa Kimunye Primary School, 4. Wale wameaga ni 3. Walikuwa natoka Katugora wakipanda Kimunye. Kuna lori ilikuwa inateremka kutoka Kimunye, ilikuwa inatembelea on the wrong side. Wale vijana wakapatana na hiyo lori head on collision.
Na tumepata ajali hii barabara yetu ya kutoka Kimunye kwenda Kutus. Na hiyo ajali imehusisha vijana wadogo wa shule wenye walikuwa wakisafiri kwa pikipiki, na sasa ndipo wamekutana na lori wakagongana na hao vijana wakaweza kuaga dunia.
According to Purity Wangui, there is a need for the national and county government to erect bumps along the busy highway and install streetlights. The Gichugu police boss advised parents to avoid giving their children motorcycles. The police boss said as the lorry and motorcycle were taken to Kirinyaga police station, as the 3 bodies were taken to Kiruguya Hospital mortuary. As authorities investigate, residents are calling for installation of speed bumps and streetlights to prevent further loss of lives. Paris Kego, GPS News, Nairobi.
We are taking a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
What happens to those like me who are planning to retire early?
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
and the question of the day is, can you survive without internet?
Ngumu. Plus kwa chile hizo story tu zote zikupite ni ngori. Niwaambie ukweli. Like hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushinda na nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde uchi. Hiyo huku atriki kwa sababu sasa like ilikuwa imekuingia kwa kichwa kabisa.
Mimi nimesomea day school na niocha. So kukuwa na simu hadi ni ile katururu, si smartphone, ni ile katururu.
Sasa unaweza kaa holi ya bila simu.
Kuspend hii most of the time kwa simu. Also you need to run skills. So nilikutana na later hapa nikapo-apply huko. And then I started learning skills. Digital skills.
Hadi siku mbili haiwezi.
Kwa wiki naachilia hata kama ni siku mbili ama sometimes na extend tu wiki mzima. Napata shiki simu yangu.
The gift of a man will place you in a company of great men. Inaweza kufungulia mlango mingi. What 2 things can you never eat for breakfast?
The fact that I started selling art, that's where the interest came in. Yeah, they know, yeah, this thing can pay.
And who has been your biggest cheerleader in your art journey?
My biggest?
Cheerleader. Ule mwenye anakuwa.
Oh yeah, IG, I'm artist Victor Mtua. Facebook is Victor Mtua. Of course, the first time I sold my art at relatively 50K.
Ati?
Time niliuza art yangu like 50K.
Oh, Victor, kwanza before hata uoneshane watu painting zako, nataka kuuliza, if I was to pay you, nikwambie like usiwahi chora tena, usiwahi paint tena, would you? Unaweza acha? You are famous, what will your stage name be?
My stage name?
Ungekuwa pale kwa stage, ungekuwa unajiintroduce kana nani?
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. Former President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Joseph Kabila, has accused his successor, President Felix Tshisekedi, of worsening the country's crisis through poor governance. In a scathing opinion piece, Kabila claims Tshisekedi's actions, including suppressing opposition and resorting to violence, have pushed the DRC to the brink of collapse.
Joseph Kabila, who served as president of the DRC from 2001 to 2019 sharply criticized Felix Tshisekedi's leadership. Kabila pointed to Tshisekedi's governance since he assumed office in 2019, stating that the situation in the DRC has deteriorated significantly and the country is close to imploding. He described the December 2023 elections, which saw Tshisekedi's win a second term in a landslide, as a sham, accusing the government of silencing the opposition and consolidating power under a system of intimidation, arrests, and extrajudicial killings. Tshisekedi's security forces, according to Kabila, have been responsible for multiple human rights violations, including massacres of civilians, forced exiles of political figures, journalists, and church leaders. Kabila emphasized that ignoring the power governance and human rights abuses that undermine the DRC's crisis would only lead to further political unrest and the potential for civil war. He urged that any peace efforts must address these fundamental causes of the conflict in order to achieve lasting peace. As the violence in the eastern DRC persists, South Africa has deployed over 1,000 troops as part of a peacekeeping mission to stabilize the region. Tragically, last month, 14 South African soldiers lost their lives in the ongoing conflict. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Now to the southern hemisphere now. South Africa's power utility Eskom has ramped up control outages to stage 6, cutting 3,000 megawatts from the grid after a sudden escalation in breakdowns at aging coal plants. The move, described as essential, marks the country's worst power cut since November 2023, raising fresh concerns over energy stability.
South Africa Power Utility Eskom has announced control outages, cutting 3,000 megawatts of electricity from the grid due to what is called a temporary setback. The measure, known as load shedding, follows similar cuts in January after nearly 10 months of uninterrupted power. Eskom said it will provide an update on Sunday, but did not specify the cause of the latest issues. The outages are often triggered by breakdown at Eskom aging coal plants, which supply most of the South Africa electricity. In the early hours of Sunday, Eskom escalated the cuts to stage 6 after multiple failures at power stations.
Technically, we should have done things earlier, so we would consider it not a success. But we've learned from that, and other stations are now applying lessons learned from Komati.
They described the move as essential to replenish emergency reserves and prepare for the week ahead. This is the most severe power cut since November 2023. As businesses and households brace for more disruptions, the latest setback highlights the urgent need for sustainable energy solutions to stabilize the country power supply. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
The UK and India are set to resume crucial free trade negotiations on Monday, following a nearly year-long pause now. With both countries having held over a dozen rounds of talks since 2022, key issues such as tariffs on Scotch whisky and visa reforms for Indian professionals remain unresolved. UK Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds is in Delhi for the two-day discussions alongside Indian counterpart Goyal, as both nations aim to strengthen their trade ties.
India and the UK are set to resume free trade talks nearly a year after discussions were paused due to elections in both countries. UK Business and Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds is in Delhi for the two-day negotiations with his Indian counterpart Piyush Goyal. Despite over a dozen rounds of talks since 2022, key sticking points remain, including high tariffs on Scotch whisky and demands for relaxed visas and fee rules for Indian students and professionals in the UK. Reynolds emphasized the importance of securing a trade deal with India, which is predicted to become the world's third largest economy in the coming years. The UK views the trade relationship as vital, particularly in sectors such as advanced manufacturing, clean energy and financial services. For India, the deal could help boost its export growth ambitions with a target of increasing exports by 1 trillion by the financial year 2030. The UK is also seen as a high-priority trading partner for India. In addition to trade talks, Reynolds and Goyas are visiting a BT office in Gurugram, while UK Investment Minister Poppy participates in events in Mumbai and Bengaluru. India, having signed multiple trade deals in recent years, including a 100 billion deal with the European Free Trade Association, is also set to resume negotiations with the European Union this year. Teresa Tiengo, GBS News.
A political shake-up in Germany, the opposition conservatives claim victory, but the real shocker, the far-fight alternative for Germany, secures its strongest post-war result. What does this mean for the Europe's biggest economy? Joy Courier reports.
Germany's political landscape take a dramatic turn. Friedrich Merz and his conservative union bloc took the top spot with around 28.5% of the votes, but the biggest headline, the right alternative for Germany doubles its support, hitting a historic 20.5%, marking the strongest showing for a far-right party since World War II. That's how outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz described his party disastrous, finishing with just over 16%, saying it was the worst post-war performance. Meanwhile, the Greens polled 12%, and the once powerful Free Democrats struggled to stay afloat, barely reaching 4.5%. While AfD supporters cheer, thousands take to the street in protest fearing a hard rate shift. AfD co-leader Tino Chrupalla calls it historic, but Merz refuses to work with AfD despite their gain. Now, all eyes are on coalition talks, with Merz aiming to form a government by Easter. Will he succeed? What does this mean for Germany's role in Europe and NATO? Joy Courier, GBS News.
Sudan's Rapid Support Forces and allied groups have signed a charter to form a government of peace and unity, further deepening the country divisions after nearly 2 years of civil war. The move, condemned by Sudanese army and raising concerns from the UN, highlights the escalating power struggle as both sides push for control, while the nation faces a worsening humanitarian crisis.
Sudan's Rapid Support Forces and allied groups have signed a charter to establish a government of peace and unity, a move condemned by the Sudanese army and raising concerns from the United Nations. Among the signatories is powerful rebel leader Abdelaziz Ali Hilu, who has long pushed for Sudan to embrace secularism. The Rapid Support Forces, which controls large parts of Darfur and Kordofan, claims the new government aims to unify the country and end the nearly 2-year war, though it is unlikely to gain widespread recognition. The conflict, sparked by a power struggle between the Rapid Support Forces and the army, has devastated Sudan, displacing millions and pushing half the population into hunger. The Rapid Support Forces leader, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, has faced U.S. sanctions for alleged human rights abuses. Meanwhile, the army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, recently expanded its constitutional powers and plans to announce a war cabinet soon. The charter signing took place in Kenya, sparking diplomatic tensions, with the Sudan condemning Nairobi's involvement. The cross-door event followed high-profile gathering in Nairobi earlier in the week, which also drew criticism. With Sudan further fragmenting and both functions digging in, the prospect for peace remains grim as the humanitarian crisis worsens. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
And that's what we had for you tonight at GBS News at 9. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again next time, same channel. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.